The little girl's scream echoed through Kensington Palace at 3 in the morning. Royal Guard Captain Alina Reeves was at her post when she heard it. A child's cry, sharp with terror, cutting through the silent halls. Her hand instinctively moved to her radio before protocol stopped her. Princess Charlotte was 9 years old, and something had frightened her badly. Alina stood frozen for exactly 3 seconds, weighing duty against instinct. The royal family's private quarters were sacred. Guards never entered without explicit permission or immediate threat. But that scream. She made her decision. Moving quickly down the marble corridor, Lena reached the family wing just as Prince William emerged from Charlotte's room, his face pale in the dim emergency lighting. "Sir," Alina said quietly. "I heard a nightmare," William interrupted, but his voice shook. "She's been having them for weeks." Behind him, through the partially open door, Lena glimpsed Kate sitting on Charlotte's bed, holding their daughter close. The little princess was sobbing, her small body trembling. If you're already hooked by this story, hit that subscribe button now. What happens next? We'll stay with you. William ran a hand through his disheveled hair. "We thought they would pass. Children have nightmares, but they're getting worse. More frequent. More specific." "Specific, sir." William hesitated, glancing back at his daughter. "She dreams about people watching her, following her, taking photographs through windows. She wakes up convinced that nowhere is safe." Lena felt her chest tighten. Charlotte was a princess, yes, but she was also a child. A 9-year-old girl who should be dreaming about ponies and birthday parties, not surveillance and invasion. "With respect, sir, has there been any actual security concern? Any reason she might feel threatened?" "No direct threats," William said quietly. "But last month, a photographer used a drone to take pictures of the children playing in the garden. Before that, someone tried to scale the wall near the children's wing. We caught them, but Charlotte saw it happen. She saw armed guards tackle a stranger 50 feet from where she was playing." Lena understood immediately. These weren't just nightmares. This was a child processing real fear in the only way she knew how. "The press doesn't help," William continued, his voice hardening. "Every time she goes to school, there are photographers. When she attends events, cameras follow her every move. She's 9, Captain. 9 years old, and she can't walk down a street without strangers documenting her existence." From inside the room, Charlotte's crying had subsided to quiet whimpers. Kate's voice drifted out, soft and soothing, singing a lullaby. William's shoulders sagged. "I want to give her a normal childhood, something resembling normal. But how do I do that when the world treats her like public property?" Alina had served the royal family for 7 years. She'd protected dignitaries, guarded state secrets, stood watch during international crises. But she'd never seen Prince William look this helpless. "Permission to speak freely, sir?" "Granted. Princess Charlotte is lucky. She has parents who care about her well-being more than public image. But she's also unlucky, because she was born into circumstances that make true safety impossible."
Alina paused.
What she needs isn't just physical protection. She needs to feel safe. To believe that the people around her are there for her, not just for the crown. William studied her for a long moment. "You have children, Captain?" "No, sir. But I have a niece, 7 years old. And when she had nightmares after a car accident, the only thing that helped was knowing that someone was always watching over her. Someone she trusted." "What are you suggesting?" Alina knew she was overstepping boundaries. But something about that little girl's scream had broken through her professional armor. "Let me help," she said simply. "Not as a guard. As someone who cares. Let me show her that the people protecting her aren't just doing a job, that we're here because she matters." William's eyes glistened. "That's not standard protocol." "No, sir." "But neither is a 9-year-old princess crying herself to sleep every night, terrified of the world outside her windows." The silence stretched between them. From Charlotte's room, the lullaby ended. Kate appeared in the doorway, her face exhausted but composed. "She's finally asleep," Kate whispered. Then she saw Alina and William talking, sensed the weight of their conversation. "What's happened?" "Captain Reeves heard Charlotte's nightmare," William explained. "She's offering to help. Beyond her regular duties, Kate looked at Alina with those penetrating blue eyes that missed nothing. Help how? However you think is appropriate, ma'am. I don't think this is a problem that more guards or better security systems can solve. This is about a little girl who needs to feel safe in her own home. Kate glanced at William. Some wordless communication passed between them. Then Kate turned back to Alina. Tomorrow morning, Charlotte has breakfast at 7:30 in the small dining room. Be there. Not in uniform. Just come as yourself. Let's see if you're right. Yes, ma'am. As Alina walked back to her post, her radio crackled. Her second in command, Sergeant Marcus Webb, sounded concerned. Captain? Everything's secure? Yes. Just a child's nightmare, understood. But as Alina resumed her position in the corridor, she knew it wasn't understood. Not really. Because this wasn't just about a nightmare. This was about a little girl caught between being a princess and being a child. Between duty and innocence. Between the life she was born into and the life she deserved. And somehow, Alina had just volunteered to help bridge that impossible gap. She looked at her watch. 3:47 a.m. In less than 4 hours, she would sit down to breakfast with Princess Charlotte. The question was, would she be able to keep the promise she'd just made? Elena arrived at the small dining room at 7:25, wearing casual clothes for the first time in years while on palace grounds. Jeans, a simple sweater, no uniform. No visible authority, she felt naked without it. The room was intimate, nothing like the grand state dining halls. Soft morning light, filtered through gauze curtains. A round table was set for 4, a smaller chair clearly meant for Charlotte. Kate entered first, carrying a tray of fresh fruit. She looked up, surprised but pleased. You came. I said I would, ma'am. Please. When you're not in uniform, call me Kate. We're about to share breakfast. Formality seems silly, Lena nodded, though her training screamed against such informality. Charlotte entered next, holding her father's hand. She wore a school uniform, her hair pulled back in a neat ponytail. But her eyes were shadowed with exhaustion, and she stayed close to William's side. When she saw Alina, she stopped. Who's that? This is Captain Reeves, William said gently. But this morning, she's just Alina. She wanted to have breakfast with us. Charlotte studied Alina with the intense scrutiny only children possess. Why? It was a fair question. Alina crouched down to Charlotte's eye level. Because I heard you had a scary dream last night. And I remember having scary dreams when I was your age. I thought maybe we could talk about it. Are you a doctor? No, I'm one of the people who helps keep your family safe. A guard. Yes. Charlotte's face closed off. Guards don't talk to me. They just stand there and watch. It's true, usually. But sometimes guards want to do more than just watch. Sometimes we want to help in other ways. Charlotte considered this. Then, with the devastating honesty of childhood, you can't help with dreams. Nobody can. She sat at the table, and breakfast began. Alina felt William and Kate watching her, waiting to see if this experiment would work or fail spectacularly. For several minutes, they ate in silence. Charlotte pushed fruit around her plate, barely eating. Her small hands trembled slightly when she reached for her juice. Alina took a chance. I used to dream about shadows. Charlotte looked up. When I was 8, we had a break-in at our house. Nobody got hurt, but I woke up and saw a shadow moving past my door. For months after, I dreamed about shadows everywhere. Under my bed, in my closet, following me to school. What did you do? Charlotte's voice was barely a whisper. My dad was a police officer. He taught me something important. He said the shadows were scary because I didn't know what they were. But once I understood them, once I learned that most shadows were just normal things made big by fear, they weren't as frightening. But some shadows are real bad people, Charlotte said. I saw the man trying to climb our wall. He was real. You're absolutely right. Some dangers are real. And that's why your family has people like me around. Our job is to stand between you and anything scary. So you don't have to be afraid. But you can't be everywhere. You can't stop cameras. You can't stop people watching me all the time. Charlotte's eyes filled with tears. Everywhere I go, people stare. They take pictures. They follow me. Even at school, Kate reached across the table, taking Charlotte's hand. But she didn't speak. She was letting Alina try. "You're right again," Alina said. "I can't stop all of that. And that's not fair. You should be able to go to school and play with friends without cameras following you. But here's what I can promise. Inside these walls, you're safe. Completely safe. And whenever you leave, there are people whose only job is making sure nothing bad happens to you. But what about the dreams? Dreams are trickier. They're your mind trying to process big, confusing feelings. Fear, worry, stress, those feelings have to go somewhere, and sometimes they come out in nightmares." Charlotte set down her fork. "Do you still have scary dreams?" "Sometimes, but less now." "Why?" Alina thought carefully. "Because I learned something. I learned that feeling scared doesn't make you weak. It makes you smart. Your brain is trying to protect you. The trick is teaching your brain that it doesn't have to work so hard when you're somewhere safe." "How do you teach your brain that?" "By reminding it of true things. Safe things. Like I'm in my room. My parents are nearby. There are people whose job is protecting me. Nobody can hurt me here. And if I get scared, I can call for help and someone will come." Charlotte nodded slowly. Then, so quietly, Alina almost missed it. "Someone came last night." "You." "Yes, and someone will always come. That's a promise." For the first time that morning, Charlotte picked up her fork and took a real bite of food. William and Kate exchanged a glance, hope flickering in their tired eyes. The rest of breakfast passed more easily. Charlotte even smiled once. When Alina told a story about tripping during a ceremonial parade and nearly taking down 2 other guards, after breakfast, Charlotte had to leave for school. She stood at the door, her backpack slung over small shoulders, and looked back at Alina. "Will you be here tomorrow?" Alina glanced at Kate, who nodded subtly. "If you want me to be, I do." Then, even quieter, it helped, talking, after Charlotte left with her security detail. William and Kate sat back down at the table with Alina. "Thank you," Kate said simply. "That was more than we could have hoped for." "She's remarkable," Alina replied. "Articulate, self-aware, but she's carrying weight no 9-year-old should have to carry." "I know," William said, his voice heavy. "We try to give her and her siblings as normal a life as possible. But the reality is, their lives will never be normal. And Charlotte understands that better than the boys do. She's always been perceptive, sensitive to atmospheres and tensions. She's also incredibly brave," Alina added. "She's facing fears that would overwhelm most adults, and she's doing it with grace." Kate's eyes shimmered. "We worry about her constantly, about all our children. But Charlotte especially. She feels things so deeply." "Ma'am," Kate Alina corrected, "if I may ask, what exactly happened with the photographer and the drone?" William's expression darkened. "Last month, someone flew a commercial drone over the palace gardens while the children were playing. It hovered low enough that Charlotte could see the camera. She was terrified. Asked if the drone could take her away. George tried to act brave, but even he was shaken. We increased security protocols immediately," Kate continued, "but the damage was done." Charlotte started asking questions. Why do people want to watch us? Why can't we be private? Why does everyone care what we do? Questions we don't have good answers for, William finished. Alina felt anger rise in her chest. Not at William and Kate, at the system. At the public's insatiable appetite for royal content. At photographers who saw children as profitable targets rather than human beings deserving protection. "I'd like to continue these breakfasts," Alina said. "If you're comfortable with it, and if there are other ways I can help Charlotte feel more secure, I'm willing." "That's beyond your duty," Kate said gently. "Maybe, but it's not beyond my conscience." William stood, extending his hand. "Thank you, Captain. Truly."
Oh.
As Alina left the dining room and changed back into her uniform, she felt the weight of what she'd just taken on. She wasn't just protecting a princess anymore. She was protecting a child's sense of safety in a world that treated her like public entertainment. And somehow, She would have to find a way to shield Charlotte from dangers that no uniform or training could fully defend against. The question was, how do you protect someone from the weight of their own destiny? 3 weeks passed. Alina had breakfast with Charlotte every morning she was on duty. Slowly, carefully, she watched a frightened little girl begin to open up. Charlotte still had nightmares, but they were less frequent, less intense. Then came the school event that changed everything. It was a Tuesday afternoon. Charlotte's school was hosting a charity fair, and William and Kate were attending to support their daughter. Alina was part of the security detail, positioned near the entrance where she could monitor the crowd. The event seemed perfect. Children laughing, parents chatting. Charlotte moved through the fair with her classmates, her face bright with genuine happiness. For once, she looked like a normal 9-year-old girl. Alina allowed herself to relax slightly. Maybe this would be a good day. That's when she saw him, a man in his 40s, standing too close to the rope barriers. He held a professional camera with a telephoto lens pointed directly at Charlotte. Nothing unusual about that. Photographers were everywhere at royal events. But something about his intensity made Alina's instincts flare. She spoke quietly into her radio. "Marcus, eyes on photographer, north barrier, gray jacket. Something feels off. Copy, monitoring." The man didn't just take photos. He tracked Charlotte's every movement. When she laughed, he shot rapid fire. When she bent to help a younger child, he moved position for a better angle. When she reached for her mother's hand, his camera clicked relentlessly. Charlotte noticed him. Alina saw the exact moment it happened. The little princess's smile faltered. Her shoulders tensed. She moved closer to Kate, her earlier joy evaporating like morning mist. Alina made a decision. She approached the barrier. "Sir, you need to lower your camera." The photographer looked at her with annoyance. "I'm on public property. I have every right you're making a child uncomfortable. Lower your camera." "She's a public figure. This is my job." "She's 9 years old. And your job doesn't give you the right to terrify children." Other photographers had noticed the confrontation. Cameras swiveled toward Alina and the man, sensing a story. The photographer smirked. "Terrify. I'm taking photos. If a princess can't handle cameras, maybe she shouldn't appear in public." Alina felt her jaw tighten. "Final warning? Lower the camera and step back, or I'll have you removed." "On what grounds?" "I'm breaking no laws." He raised his camera again, aiming past Alina directly at Charlotte. The little girl had stopped moving entirely, frozen in place, her face pale with anxiety. Alina stepped directly into his line of sight, blocking the shot. "Captain," Marcus's voice crackled in her earpiece. "Stand down." "He's technically within his rights." Alina knew Marcus was correct. The photographer stood on public property. He'd broken no laws. Any attempt to forcibly remove him would create an incident, possibly a lawsuit. But she also saw Charlotte's trembling hands. Saw Kate trying to comfort her daughter while maintaining a public smile. Saw William's face hardening with protective rage he couldn't express. She saw a child's joy being stolen in real time. "Sir," Alina said, her voice low and steady, "I'm not speaking as a guard right now. I'm speaking as one human being to another. That little girl has nightmares because of people like you. She wakes up screaming, terrified that strangers are watching her through windows. You're making those nightmares real." Something flickered in the photographer's eyes. Discomfort, maybe, or shame. "I'm just doing my job," he said, but his voice had lost its edge. "Then do it with compassion. Give her space. Let her be a child for one afternoon." For a long moment, he stared at Alina. Then, slowly, he lowered his camera. "Fine, but this is a courtesy, not capitulation." He stepped back from the barrier. Other photographers, watching the exchange, did the same. A small ripple of space opened around the royal family. Alina returned to her position, her heart pounding. She'd overstepped. Confronted a citizen without legal cause, her superiors would hear about this. But when she glanced at Charlotte, the little princess was looking directly at her. And then Charlotte smiled. A real smile, full of relief and gratitude. Worth it, Alina thought. Whatever consequences come, it was worth it. The event continued. Charlotte's joy gradually returned. She played games, won a prize at the ring toss, even convinced her father to try the cakewalk. By the end, she was laughing again. As the royal family prepared to leave, Charlotte broke away from her mother and ran to Alina. "Thank you," she whispered, then quickly rejoined her parents. That evening, Alina was summoned to Commander Harrison's office. Her superior sat behind his desk, his expression unreadable. "Captain Reeves. Interesting afternoon, yes, sir? You confronted a photographer on public property? Blocked his legal right to take photographs. Threatened removal without cause. Yes, sir. You understand that this could be a serious problem? The photographer has already complained. The press is calling it heavy-handed security. Overreach? I understand, sir." Harrison leaned back in his chair. "So, explain yourself." Lena chose her words carefully. "Princess Charlotte suffers from severe anxiety triggered by invasive photography. She has nightmares. She's a 9-year-old child being treated like a commodity. That photographer was directly causing her distress. I made a judgment call to protect her emotional well-being. Your job is to protect her physical safety, not her feelings. With respect, sir, they're connected. A child living in constant fear and anxiety isn't safe, not in any meaningful way. We can guard her body perfectly while her spirit is crushed daily by invasive attention. Is that really protection?" Harrison was silent for a long moment. "Then, the prince and princess called me this evening? Before the photographer's complaint even reached my desk?" Elena's stomach sank. "Here it comes. The reprimand. Possibly suspension. They wanted to thank you," Harrison continued. "They said you did something no one else has been willing to do. You stood up for their daughter as a person, not just as a princess. They've requested that you be assigned as Princess Charlotte's primary guard whenever she's at public events." Lena blinked, stunned. "Sir, congratulations, Captain. You've just been given one of the most challenging assignments in royal security. Protecting a child who doesn't need protection from physical threats, but from a world that can't stop staring at her." "Thank you, sir. Don't thank me yet. This assignment comes with impossible expectations. You'll be criticized constantly. The press will accuse you of being too protective. The public will say you're denying them access to a princess they feel entitled to see. And through it all, you'll have to find a way to let a 9-year-old girl feel like a normal child in the most abnormal circumstances imaginable." Harrison stood, extending his hand. "But if anyone can do it, Captain, my money's on you." Lena shook his hand, feeling the weight of this new responsibility settle over her shoulders. That night, she received a handwritten note delivered to her quarters by palace staff. The handwriting was careful, each letter formed with obvious effort. "Dear Captain Alina, thank you for making the scary man go away. I felt safe today because you were there. The nightmares are getting better. You were right about feeling safe. Love." Charlotte. Alina read the note 3 times, her vision blurring with tears. This was what duty really meant. Not standing at attention for hours. Not following protocol perfectly, but standing between a child and the world that wanted to consume her. She folded the note carefully and placed it in her pocket next to her badge. Tomorrow would bring new challenges. More photographers. More public events. More moments where Charlotte would need someone to put her well-being above protocols and public access. And Alina would be there. Not just as a guard, as a shield, a protector. A reminder that even princesses deserved childhood. But she couldn't shake one troubling thought. How long could she keep this up? How many confrontations before her superiors decided she'd gone too far? And what would happen to Charlotte then? The backlash came faster than Alina expected. Within days, her confrontation with the photographer had become a national story. Headlines screamed about overzealous security and restricting press freedom, opinion. Pieces debated whether royal children deserved privacy or were fair game for public documentation. Alina tried to ignore it, but Charlotte saw the headlines too. "They're mad at you," Charlotte said during breakfast one morning, "because of me." "People get upset sometimes," Alina replied carefully, "but that doesn't mean they're right. My teacher said the press has a job to do. That people want to see us. That it's part of being royal." Alina set down her tea. Kate and William were watching, letting this conversation unfold naturally. "Charlotte, can I tell you something honest?" The little princess nodded. "Yes, there are parts of being royal that include public appearances. Your parents work very hard to support important causes, and sometimes cameras document that work. But you know what else is true? You're a child. And children deserve protection and privacy, even if they're princesses. Anyone who tells you differently is wrong." But the newspapers say the newspapers want stories. They want photographs that sell copies. They're not thinking about how those photographs make you feel. They're not lying awake worrying about your nightmares. Charlotte's eyes filled with tears. "I don't want you to get in trouble because of me." Lena moved closer, crouching beside Charlotte's chair. "Listen to me. You are not responsible for other people's choices. Not mine, not those photographers, not anyone's. I chose to stand up for you because it was right, and I'd do it again in a heartbeat." "Really? Really?" That afternoon, Alina was called to another meeting. This time with the Royal Communications Secretary, Lady Margaret Sterling, a woman known for her ice-cold efficiency and complete dedication to managing the royal family's public image. Captain Reeves, her spine straight, her face neutral. "You've created a public relations problem," Lady Margaret said without preamble. "The press is accusing us of restricting their access to royal events. 3 major newspapers have filed complaints. 2 photography organizations are threatening lawsuits." "I'm aware, ma'am. But you also aware that this family depends on public goodwill? That goodwill requires a delicate balance between privacy and accessibility. Your actions have disrupted that balance. With respect, ma'am, Princess Charlotte's well-being should matter more than public relations." Lady Margaret's expression didn't change. Princess Charlotte's well-being includes her future as a working royal. If the public turns against her because she's perceived as inaccessible or overly protected, that damages her ability to serve effectively when she's older. Alina felt anger rise in her chest. She's 9 years old. She has nightmares. She's terrified of cameras. Are we really prioritizing her future career over her present childhood? We're prioritizing the long-term stability of the institution she represents. The institution is made of people, and if we sacrifice those people for the sake of the institution, what are we really protecting? Silence fell. Lady Margaret studied Alina with pale blue eyes that gave nothing away. "You care about her? That's admirable. But caring isn't enough when you're dealing with an institution centuries old. There are forces at work here that transcend individual feelings. And yet individual feelings are what make us human. What make the monarchy relevant? If we turn Charlotte into a perfect, emotionless symbol, we lose what makes people connect with her family in the first place." Lady Margaret stood, walking to the window, overlooking the palace gardens. "The prince and princess support you. That buys you significant protection. But understand this, Captain. There are limits to how far you can push before even their support can't shield you from consequences. I understand, ma'am. Do you? Because from where I sit, you're on a collision course with reality. You can't protect a princess from public attention. It's literally impossible. The best you can do is teach her to tolerate it gracefully. Or I can teach her that her feelings matter. That she has people who will stand up for her. That she's more than a symbol to be photographed and consumed." Lady Margaret turned back, and for just a moment, something flickered in her expression. Something almost like sadness. "You know what happens to people who fight for what's right in places like this, Captain? They burn out. They break. Or they get pushed out. I've seen it dozens of times. Good people with noble intentions, crushed by systems too big to change, then maybe it's time the system changed. With one guard standing against centuries of tradition. You're delusional, maybe, but I'm not alone." Lady Margaret raised an eyebrow. "Meaning? Meaning every staff member who's watched Charlotte struggle, every person who's seen what constant attention does to her, every parent who understands that childhood should be protected. We're all watching. And we're all wondering if anyone with power will choose to do the right thing." The silence that followed was heavy, charged with unspoken tension. Finally, Lady Margaret spoke. "You're dismissed, Captain. But hear me clearly. Tread carefully. The next incident may not end with just a conversation. Lena left the office feeling both vindicated and vulnerable. She'd spoken truth to power. But power had made its position clear: conform or face consequences. That evening, something unexpected happened. Alina was at her post when Marcus approached, followed by 6 other guards. All of them wore serious expressions. "Captain, we need to talk." They gathered in a private corridor, away from surveillance cameras and listening ears. "We've been discussing the situation," Marcus said. "What's happening with Princess Charlotte? The pressure you're facing." Alina tensed. And we want you to know you're not alone." This came from Sarah Chen, a younger guard who'd recently joined the royal detail. "We've all seen how the media treats her. How she struggles. What you did at that school event? That took courage. It also created problems," Alina said. "Problems worth creating," added Thomas Kincaid, a veteran guard. "I've been doing this for 15 years. I've watched royal children grow up under constant scrutiny. Some handle it, some don't. Princess Charlotte is special. She's kind, thoughtful, sensitive, exactly the kind of person who shouldn't be in this position, but she is. And she needs people willing to protect her from more than just physical threats." Marcus stepped closer. "We're with you, Captain. If you need backup at events, if you need witnesses to corroborate your decisions, if you need someone to stand beside you when the pressure comes, we're here." Lena felt her throat tighten. "You understand what you're risking? Your careers? Your reputations?" "Yes," Sarah said simply. "But some things matter more." That night, Elena couldn't sleep. She lay in her quarters, staring at the ceiling, turning everything over in her mind. She thought about Charlotte's nightmares. About the little girl's trembling hands and forced smiles. About handwritten thank you notes and genuine questions about safety. She thought about Lady Margaret's warnings. About the system's resistance to change. About how many good people had been crushed trying to fight institutions too big to move. She thought about her team's support. About ordinary guards choosing conscience over comfort. About the possibility that maybe, just maybe, enough people caring could make a difference. Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number, Captain Reeves. "You don't know me, but I'm a mother who was at the school event. I saw what you did for Princess Charlotte. My daughter has severe anxiety, and seeing someone stand up for that little girl's well-being moved me to tears. Thank you for choosing her humanity over protocols. Please don't stop." Lena read the message 3 times. Then she saved it, adding it to a growing folder of similar messages she'd received over the past week. For every critic calling her overprotective, there were parents thanking her. For every article condemning her actions, there were people who understood what she was fighting for. Maybe she was delusional, thinking one guard could make a difference. Or maybe change always started with one person willing to stand up, even when standing up meant standing alone. She closed her eyes, Charlotte's handwritten note still in her pocket. Tomorrow would bring new challenges. More scrutiny. More pressure. More moments where she'd have to choose between following orders and doing what was right. But tonight, she was certain of one thing. She'd made the right choice. And she'd keep making it, no matter the cost. The moment that changed everything came on a rainy Thursday afternoon. Charlotte, A, was attending a children's hospital opening with her mother. Alina was part of the security detail, positioned near the entrance where dozens of photographers had gathered behind barriers. The event started smoothly. Kate moved through the hospital with grace, Charlotte beside her, shaking small hands and offering shy smiles to sick children who lit up at seeing a real princess. Alina watched. Charlotte carefully. The little princess was handling the attention better lately. The nightmares had decreased. Her confidence had grown. She even waved to photographers occasionally, though Alina could see the effort it cost her. They were about to enter the children's ward when a photographer shouted, "Over here, darling." Big smile. Charlotte flinched at the sudden noise, but recovered. Turning toward the camera, then another photographer called out, louder, "Is it true you're afraid of cameras, Charlotte? Show us you're not scared." Alina saw it happen in slow motion. Charlotte's face went pale. Her small body tensed. The forced smile crumbled. She grabbed Kate's hand tightly, her breathing quickening. Kate immediately recognized the signs of an anxiety attack. She crouched down, speaking softly to Charlotte, trying to calm her daughter while maintaining composure for the cameras that were now documenting every second of the princess's distress. The photographers didn't stop. If anything, they intensified, sensing a dramatic moment. Is she having a panic attack? Charlotte, look this way. Are you okay, princess? Alina moved without thinking. She stepped directly between Charlotte and the photographers, blocking their view completely. Back up now. You have a right, I said back up. Alina's voice carried authority that left no room for argument. You're witnessing a child in distress, and you're making it worse. Step back or be removed. Marcus and 2 other guards immediately formed a protective wall around Charlotte and Kate, blocking all camera angles. Kate lifted Charlotte into her arms, whispering comfort. While hospital staff quickly opened a side door, they moved Charlotte inside, away from the cameras and chaos. Alina followed, her heart pounding with fury and concern. In a quiet hospital room, Kate sat holding Charlotte, who was crying and gasping for breath. A nurse brought water and spoke soothingly about breathing techniques. Alina stood by the door, giving them space but staying close. After several minutes, Charlotte's breathing slowed. Her crying subsided to quiet whimpers. Kate held her daughter close, tears streaming down her own face. I'm sorry, Charlotte whispered. I ruined everything. You ruined nothing? Kate said firmly. Nothing. Do you hear me? You did nothing wrong. But everyone saw. They took pictures. They'll say I'm weak. They'll say whatever they want. Them. You are brave and strong, and having feelings doesn't change that. Charlotte looked up at her mother with red, swollen eyes. I tried so hard to be normal, to smile and wave like I'm supposed to. But when they shouted at me, when they all stared, I couldn't. I know, darling. I know. Alina felt something break inside her chest. This 9-year-old girl was apologizing for having a panic attack, apologizing for being human. She walked over and knelt beside Charlotte. Princess Charlotte, listen to me. What happened out there wasn't your fault. Those photographers were cruel. They knew you struggle with cameras, and they pushed anyway. That's on them, not you. But I should be able to handle it. I'm supposed to be brave. You are brave. Being brave doesn't mean never being scared. It means facing scary things even when you want to run away. And you've been doing that every single day. Every event. Every photograph. Every public appearance. That takes tremendous courage. Charlotte wiped her eyes. Really? Really. And you know what else? Today showed us something important. It showed us that the current system isn't working. That we need to change how we do things. Kate looked at Alina with a mixture of hope and skepticism. Change how? I don't know yet. But we can't keep putting Charlotte through this. We can't keep pretending that if she just tries harder, she'll magically be okay with constant invasive attention. That's not how anxiety works. That's not how childhood works. Before Kate could respond, the door burst open. Lady Margaret entered, her face thunderous. What happened out there is unacceptable. The photographs are already circulating. A princess having a meltdown at a public event. This is a disaster. A child had a panic attack, Alina corrected, standing. Because photographers harassed her. Photographers did their jobs. She's a public figure. She needs to learn to handle attention. She's 9 years old. She's a princess. There's a difference. No, Kate said quietly, but with steel in her voice. There isn't. Everyone turned to look at her. She stood, still holding Charlotte, her expression fierce. My daughter is a princess, yes, but she's a child first. And I'm done pretending otherwise. I'm done sacrificing her well-being for public relations. I'm done watching her suffer so photographers can get their shots and newspapers can sell copies. Your Highness, you must understand. I understand perfectly. The system demands that my children be accessible, photographable, consumable. Well, I'm saying no. From now on, we do things differently. Lady Margaret's face paled. You can't simply opt out of Watch Me. Kate's voice was quiet but absolute. We'll issue a statement. Princess Charlotte will not attend public events for the foreseeable future. When she does return, there will be strict rules about photography. No shouting. No close-ups. No harassment. And if those rules are broken, access will be revoked permanently. The press will crucify you. They'll say you're denying them their right to document. They can say whatever they want. My daughter's mental health matters more. Lady Margaret looked to Alina as if expecting her to intervene. Instead, Alina stood beside Kate, a united front. This is a mistake, Lady Margaret said. The public will turn against you. Some might, Kate agreed. Others will understand that we're protecting a child. And honestly, I don't care anymore. I've spent years trying to balance public duty with maternal instinct. Today, instinct wins. Lady Margaret left, her heels clicking angrily on the hospital floor. Charlotte had stopped crying. She looked at her mother with awe and confusion. What does this mean? Kate smoothed her daughter's hair. It means things are going to change. It means you don't have to be brave every single moment. It means we're going to protect you properly, even if people don't like it. That evening, William returned early from an engagement in Scotland. He gathered Kate, Charlotte, and Alina in a private sitting room. I heard what happened, he said, pulling Charlotte into a hug. I'm so sorry, darling. I'm sorry we didn't do this sooner. Do what? Charlotte asked. Put you first. Properly first. Not just in words, but in actions. William looked at Alina. I want you to assemble a team. Guards who understand what we're trying to accomplish here. People who will prioritize my children's well-being over protocol or public access. Can you do that? Yes, sir. Absolutely. Good. Because from now on, things change. No more exposing our children to situations that harm them just because it's always been done this way. No more pretending that public duty justifies private suffering. Kate took William's hand. This will be controversial. People will accuse us of being overprotective, elitist, denying the public their connection to the royal family. Let them. Our first duty is to our children, not to public opinion, not to tradition, to the 3 small humans we brought into this world and promised to protect. Charlotte looked between her parents, understanding dawning in her eyes. You're changing the rules. Yes, William said. We're changing the rules. For you, for George, for Louis, because you deserve better than what we've been giving you. That night, the palace issued a statement. It was brief, direct, and unprecedented. Princess Charlotte will be stepping back from public engagements. While she focuses on her education and personal well-being, the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge thank the public for their understanding and request privacy for their daughter during this time. When Princess Charlotte returns to public life, new protocols regarding media access and photography will be implemented to ensure the well-being of all royal children. The response was immediate and divided. Some praised the decision. Others condemned it. Opinion pieces argued both sides. Social media exploded with debate. But in a quiet room in Kensington Palace, a 9-year-old princess slept through the night without nightmares for the first time in months. And Alina, standing guard outside that room, felt tears slide down her cheeks. They'd done it. Against protocol. Against tradition. Against public expectation. They'd chosen a child's well-being over everything else. And somehow, it felt like the most important victory she'd ever won. 6 months had passed since Charlotte stepped back from public life. Alina stood in the palace gardens, watching 3 children play on a sunny afternoon. George, Charlotte, and Louis chased each other around trees, their laughter genuine and unguarded. No cameras. No staged moments. Just childhood Charlotte had transformed. The shadows under her eyes had faded. Her smile came easily now. She ran without looking over her shoulder. She laughed without restraint. She's healing, Kate said, joining Alina on the garden path. Really healing. Not just managing symptoms or putting on brave faces. Actually healing. She's remarkable, Alina replied. She's been through so much, and she's still so kind. So open. That's what we almost lost. That kindness. That openness. If we'd continued forcing her into situations that terrified her, she would have built walls to protect herself, become closed off, hardened. Kate's voice caught. We almost sacrificed who she is for what people expected her to be. The past 6 months hadn't been easy. The media backlash had been fierce. Columnists accused William and Kate of coddling their daughter, creating a princess too fragile for royal duty. Some called it a publicity stunt. Others claimed it proved the monarchy was out of touch with real people's problems. But slowly, gradually, the tide had shifted. Parents shared their own stories of children struggling with anxiety. Mental health advocates praised the royal family for prioritizing well-being. Teachers wrote articles about the importance of protecting childhood development. And then something unexpected happened. A movement started. Parents across Britain began pushing back against invasive media coverage of their children. Schools implemented stricter policies about photography. Communities started discussing children's right to privacy in the digital age. Charlotte's story had sparked a national conversation about childhood, mental health, and the cost of public scrutiny. We received another letter yesterday, Kate said, from a mother whose daughter has severe social anxiety. She said seeing us protect Charlotte gave her permission to do the same for her own child. To stop forcing her daughter into situations that cause panic attacks just because other parents expected it? Alina smiled. That's beautiful. It's also terrifying, because it means people are watching, judging, measuring our choices against their own situations. But I suppose that's always been true. The difference is, now we're making choices we can defend. Choices based on what's right for our children, not what's right for public relations. Charlotte noticed them talking and ran over, breathless and grass-stained. Mum, Alina, come play with us. We're playing dragons and knights. I don't think Captain Reeves has time for games, darling, Kate said gently. Actually, Alina said, surprising herself, I have a few minutes. If you'll have me? Charlotte's face lit up. You can be a knight. The brave knight who protects the kingdom. For 20 minutes, Alina played with the royal children in a palace garden. She chased dragons Louis, rescued Princess George, and protected the kingdom Charlotte with such dedication that all 3 children dissolved into giggles. When she finally returned to her post, slightly disheveled and completely unprofessional, Marcus was trying not to laugh, very dignified. Captain, sometimes dignity is overrated. Alina was summoned to William and Kate's private office. She expected a routine security briefing. Instead, she found them sitting with a man she didn't recognize. Captain Reeves, William said, this is Dr. James Morrison, a child psychologist who specializes in anxiety and trauma. We've been consulting with him about Charlotte's recovery and about broader changes we want to implement. Dr. Morrison shook Alina's hand warmly. I've heard a great deal about you, Captain. The prince and princess credit you with recognizing Charlotte's struggle when others dismissed it as typical childhood fears. I just saw a child who was suffering, Alina said simply. And that observation, that willingness to see her as a child first and a princess second, has made all the difference. Dr. Morrison gestured to papers spread across the desk. We've been developing new protocols for royal children's public engagements. Age-appropriate guidelines. Mental health considerations. Strict media rules. Your practical insights have been invaluable in shaping these recommendations. Alina looked at William and Kate, stunned. You're making this official policy? Yes, Kate said. Not just for Charlotte. For all royal children, now and in the future. And we want you to help implement these changes. To train other guards, educate staff, ensure these protocols become embedded in how we operate. This is unprecedented, Alina said carefully. The system doesn't usually change this quickly or this dramatically. System needs to change, William replied. Charlotte's experience proved that. But more than that, we've realized something important. The monarchy's future depends on producing adults who are mentally healthy, emotionally intelligent, and genuinely committed to service. You can't create those adults by traumatizing them as children. Dr. Morrison nodded. Research shows that children who grow up under constant scrutiny, without adequate protection, often develop serious psychological issues. Anxiety, depression, attachment disorders. Princess Charlotte was showing early warning signs. Your intervention, combined with her parents' willingness to change course, likely prevented much worse outcomes. And now, Kate added, we want to prevent those outcomes for other children, not just ours, but any child in the public eye, whether royal or not. Over the following weeks, Alina worked with Dr. Morrison and palace staff to implement sweeping changes. New rules, limited photography at children's events. Guards received training in recognizing signs of anxiety and distress. A child psychologist was added to the permanent palace staff. Most controversially, William and Kate established Charlotte's Law, an informal name for a set of principles, stating that royal children's mental health would always take precedence over public access, tradition, or duty. The old guard hated it. Lady Margaret resigned in protest. Several long-serving palace officials retired early, unable to accept such radical departures from tradition. But new people filled those positions, people who understood that protecting children meant more than physical security. People who believed institutions should serve people, not the other way around. 3 months later, Charlotte made her first public appearance since stepping back. It was a small charity event for children's literacy. Limited media presence, strict photography rules, and Alina, along with her trained team, providing not just security, but genuine support. Charlotte was nervous. Alina could see it in the way she gripped her mother's hand, the way her eyes darted to cameras. But then Charlotte saw the children she'd come to meet. Kids from disadvantaged backgrounds, many struggling with reading, all excited beyond measure to meet a real princess. And Charlotte's nervousness transformed into focus. She sat with each child, listening to them read, offering encouragement, asking questions. She was gentle, patient, genuinely interested. The photographers present followed the new rules. No shouting, no invasive close-ups, respectful distance. And in return, they captured something more valuable than distress, authentic joy. Charlotte laughing as a 5-year-old showed her a drawing. Charlotte concentrating seriously while a 7-year-old struggled through a difficult passage. Charlotte's face lighting up with pride when a shy 8-year-old finished an entire book. These weren't the manufactured moments of royal performance. This was a young girl discovering the meaning of service, finding purpose in helping others, understanding that being a princess could mean more than waving and smiling. After the event, as they drove back to the palace, Charlotte was quiet. "What are you thinking, darling?" Kate asked. "I liked today," Charlotte said slowly. "I was scared at first, but once I started talking to the kids, I forgot about the cameras. I forgot to be afraid. That's wonderful. And you know what else? Those kids didn't care that I'm a princess. They just wanted someone to listen to them, to think they were important." Charlotte looked at her mother with wise eyes. "Is that what being royal is supposed to be? Making people feel important?" Kate's eyes filled with tears. "Yes, darling. That's exactly what it's supposed to be." That evening, Alina found a new note slipped under her door. Charlotte's handwriting, more confident now. "Dear Alina, today was good. I was brave, but I wasn't scared. Thank you for helping me learn the difference. I think maybe I can be a princess after all. The kind who helps people. Like you help me. Love, Charlotte, P.S. Will you teach me to be a knight too?" Alina read the note, smiling through tears. This was why she'd risked everything. Why she'd stood against protocol and tradition and powerful people who wanted things to stay the same. Because sometimes change started with one person caring enough to say this isn't right. And sometimes that one person's courage gave others permission to care too. The system hadn't fully changed. There were still battles to fight. Still people who resisted protecting children's well-being over public access. But momentum had shifted. Charlotte was healing. Other royal children would benefit from the new protocols. And across Britain, parents were having conversations about their own children's mental health, inspired by a princess who'd been allowed to step back and recover. 6 months ago, Alina had been a guard following orders, standing at attention, maintaining professional distance. Now she was part of something bigger. A movement toward compassion over protocol, humanity over tradition, children's well-being over institutional demands. As Alina looked out her window at the palace grounds, she thought about Charlotte's question. "Will you teach me to be a knight too?" Knights protected people, fought for justice, stood up for those who couldn't protect themselves. Charlotte didn't need to be taught. She was already becoming exactly that kind of person. And Alina, along with William and Kate and all the staff who'd chosen courage over convenience, had helped make that possible. In palace shadows where duty once meant blind obedience, it now meant something truer, protecting people, not just positions. Serving children, not just crowns, choosing what was right over what was easy. And a 9-year-old princess, once terrified and overwhelmed, was learning that she could be both royal and human, both dutiful and authentic, both a princess and a child. That night, Charlotte slept peacefully, her nightmares finally just distant memories. And Alina, standing guard in the corridor, knew that this was what protection really meant. Not just defending against physical threats, but defending childhood itself. Defending the right to grow up healthy, happy, and whole. Defending hope. Because in the end, that's what Charlotte represented now. Not perfect royal performance. Not flawless public duty. But hope that even in systems centuries old, change was possible. That even in the most traditional institutions, humanity could flourish. That even under the weight of crowns and expectations, children could still be children. And that was worth protecting with everything Alina had. Today, tomorrow, and every day after. One brave choice at a time.